Thank you very much, comrades. Thank you very much, President of Cosatu. I want to say I'm not going to be very long because I'm on my way to another country, to Angola, this evening. I was supposed to have departed at 7. So I thought if I'd come in the morning, I was going to be very long, for good reasons, but no, I will be reasonably long. Chairperson of the session, President of Cosatu, Comrade Zuma, Acting General Secretary, Comrade Becky Chalinjali, all national office bearers, members of the Cosatu Central Committee, leadership of all alliance, all the affiliate unions, General Secretary of the SACP, Comrade Blade Nzimande, leadership of the ANC present here, leadership of SANCO, distinguished guests, comrades, delegates. Receive my revolutionary greetings on behalf of the entire membership and the leadership of the glorious movement, the African National Congress. The National Congress is convened under the theme Unity and Cohesion of Cosatu to advance the national democratic revolution. The theme is most appropriate because the unity of Cosatu is imperative so that the federation can play its role as the spear that fights for workers and which protects the advances of their interests. Cosatu must emerge from this Congress stronger than it is now at the beginning of Congress. That is the challenge that all delegates face today. How do we work to unite Cosatu? This means delegates must put the interests of the Federation and workers first in deliberations and in the focus of the Congress. In this way, Cosatu and workers will emerge as winners at the end of the Congress. The correctness of this theme is also grounded on the fact that the advancement of the national democratic revolution in South Africa requires the unity and cohesion of the alliance and all its individual components. Let me re-emphasize the importance of unity. In July this year, we held an extraordinary Alliance Summit which took place over 5 full days and which was convened specially to deal with the unity of our enduring alliance and all its individual components. We convened that summit because we believed that there had been various worrying political developments, some of which relate directly to what we think each other's individual, organizational role must be in this alliance. We felt the need to deeply reflect on the strategic relevance and importance of this alliance in our society, and also think of ways to reassert its leadership role in our country. We need to continuously reflect on the concrete material conditions that necessitated the formation of the separate components of the alliance. Indeed, it is important to stress the point that ours are separate organizations that entered into an alliance because of historic conditions. We must ask ourselves whether those conditions still prevail today. If they do or do not, then we must define the new conditions, if that's what we believe, and determine the basis and place of our organizations and the alliance itself. This exercise is important because we can never achieve the genuine unity of the alliance if we do not fully comprehend where it comes from, and worse, if we doubt its relevance in present-day South Africa. When we do this exercise, we must bear in mind the instructive words of our late President O.R. Tambo, which we all know, when observing the 60th anniversary of the SACP in 1981. And you must know that we repeat these for our own sake, as the pastor will do every Sunday to his congregation. Matthew 17 is Lilo. Abasho ukuthi ngoba sakhuluma ngayo ngelinye ilanga, we can no longer, because fanele ukuthi sifuselele amakholwa. This is what our president says, and I quote, "Ours is not merely a paper alliance created at conference tables and finalized through the signing of documents and representing only an agreement of leaders. Our alliance is a living organism that has grown out of struggle. We have built it out of our own separate and common experiences." Close quote. in order to appreciate the value of our alliance, these words of Comrade O.R. Tambo must be read together with the equally powerful words of his predecessor, President Chief Albert Luthuli, who said, when referring to Cosatu and Cosatu's forerunner, that, and I quote, SACP is the spear and ANC the shield, close quote. If you take these two quotations from two different presidents of the ANC, it gives us a complete meaning. It gives us an understanding that our coming together was not something that we sat and thought we should negotiate, we should have an alliance. And clever people came and said, yes, now there is an alliance. It is born out of struggle. Having come from a long distance, when originally these two, if we leave the workers for a moment, there had been suspicions. People worked very hard to ensure that both organizations appreciate the importance of working together. And of course, the workers became an important factor as well. That's why, in their minds, it's not an alliance that you could produce a contract that you sign on this date. It's an alliance that emerged out of struggle, that has helped us to be where we are today. That's why Luthuli says, one of these two particularly, the National Liberation Movement and the Federation, one is a spear, one is a shield. You know what these two do, the shield and the spear. One is offensive, the other is defensive. With one you attack, with one you stop the enemy. These two ought to be always together, because if you don't have one, you are in trouble. You might not have the shield and have the spear. We are in trouble, but your trouble is measurable. If you don't have the spear, you have just the shield, my babo, we are in trouble. Because uzawuhlanganisa njalo nje boze bakuchana. So they can't part ways. It's absolutely important. It's an understanding that we should have about the alliance. It's not to please individuals, but it's to achieve the interests of the people of our country. So it's not about what mood do I have today as the president of the ANC, and then I can say what I like about the alliance. That's not the issue. If that happens, it will mean I'm a little bit ill-disciplined, because I'm moving against the very essence of the alliance. I can't have views, too much strong views about individual comrades, because then I will be misleading. It's important that we have a view of the alliance correctly. We can have difficulties, but let us protect the alliance. After all, it is a unique alliance in the world. Only in South Africa we have this kind of an alliance, and that's why we have had successes in our revolution. And that's why those who oppose us gang together, and they will always gang together against us. And we need to be united to fight that onslaught. All these points point to the fact that the alliance partners need each other and that the relationship is a symbiotic one. Our view as the leader of the alliance is therefore that the alliance remains as relevant to present-day South Africa as it was before 1994, if not even more now, because the onslaught is big. Our organizations must play different but complementary roles towards the achievement of our common objectives. These common objectives and shared dreams are derived from the basic policy document upon which the alliance is based, the Freedom Charter, which was adopted 60 years ago by the Congress of the People in Kliptown. As we said recently, at the National General Council of the ANC, it is important to always remember that the ANC is a multi-class national liberation movement advancing the national democratic revolution, the primary objective of which is the establishment of a national democratic society which is mainly defined by non-racialism, non-sexism, democracy, and prosperity. It is also important to reaffirm that the ANC remains biased to the working class and therefore a disciplined force of the left. The fact that it is a multi-class movement does not contradict this latter point. To me, it is always important, comrades, to understand ourselves sufficiently. The ANC fought to liberate this country. The ANC fought to bring about national liberation, to bring about democracy and freedom, and to be defined from that nationalistic point of view. Once the ANC has brought democracy, the ANC has arrived. How it handles the situation is a very serious matter that we need to look at. In other words, in the democracy of the ANC, every citizen has a right to vote and to be voted for. So the majority rules. That's democracy. That is conceptualized within the broader system that we operate under. The ANC does not change the system. It comes and defines how this nation, among nations, is going to operate. Democracy, where the majority rules. Deal with matters, having done all of that, to be biased to the poor, that whatever we do must address the plight of the poor within that context. What is this context? It's capitalism. We operate under capitalism. The system, the national democratic democracies are not the system, are some system within a system. Nizwa kahle? That's why, if that is the situation, the crisis after crisis of the system will affect you, whether you like it or not. Because if there is economic crisis, it affects everyone within the system, global system that is operating. In other words, it's a class-divided society. The ANC does not get rid of classes. It creates a situation where there should be some harmony within the living contradictions to try to balance things. You can't go further. That's why we call it the broad church. Very difficult to balance it. But that is the job of the ANC. To bring about a democratic society where all rights, all people have equal rights for everything. We improve education, we do everything. And if you can look at the record since 1994, which we are going to present to the country, particularly next year, because we want next year to give a report, what have we done ever since, under difficult conditions. But that's what the ANC stands for. That's what we agreed, that we will all fight together as the alliance to achieve that. And we have achieved it. But I'm saying it is situated within a system of capitalist class. Crucial to understand this. Because at times, the manner in which we approach matters, we forget that. Because we've been together too much. Some think that ANC was fighting for socialism. No, there are people who are fighting for socialism. ANC is fighting for national democracy. The SACP, on the other hand, is the vanguard party of the working class, advancing a socialist revolution aimed at creating a socialist system which is characterized by the dictatorship of the proletariat. That's what the party fights for. We are aware of it from the ANC. And the party is aware of the ANC's destination. Now, let me say something further here. In other words, socialist society, which will be socialism, is still a class-divided society. One class, what has happened is that the dictatorship overall is now of the workers, not of the bourgeoisie in socialist society. And the aim of the party is to deal with class divisions and finish them within the socialist society. And those who know it will say, they say, from each according to his or her ability, to each according to the work performed. That's socialism. Now, how do you deal with dictatorship? Let me go to the other class that I talked about, capitalist class. It dictates, and at times you don't feel it, at times you accept it as a reality. It dictates everything every day. Dictatorship. Who decides the price of bread? Is there any meeting that sits and says now it must cost so much? It is dictated to by the capitalist class. They decide now bread must be 20 cents. One day they decide it must now be 25. There's no meeting. If the price of oil goes up, they decide to raise the price of petrol. There's no meeting. Whether you like it or not, you must fill up your car. You must buy bread. As is the dictatorship, in a simplified fashion. The thinking is for a class, is dominated by the class. The class interest. Somebody must make profit, and therefore somebody decides. Different from the proletariat dictatorship. Well, that dictatorship is to get rid of class-divided society. And therefore it looks how do you socialize the means of industry so that they belong to the people, not to individuals. And they get rid of it. Socialist society is quite a robust system because it has this element of dictatorship. They are leading up to once the classes have been finished. We have reached the stage of the communist system, communist society. In other words, we have reached a classless society. That is the struggle that Ombomf or Ompepeto are fighting. In other words, to get rid once and for all of class antagonism in the world. That's what the Communist Party fights for, where it is characterized by them saying, from each according to his ability or his her ability, and to each according to his or her needs. That's when I say ngojabula mpephethe manifike sengikhehla ngoba ngoba ngasasebenza ngoba senginida nje ngikhangeze nje mangisekhona ngisadla amabele. This is important to appreciate, because if we appreciate the complexity and therefore the difficulties that face us, you know, if we are in alliance, those who don't want to be finished are going to fight very hard. Because to them, the system that I'm talking about is the wrong one. Now, what does that mean? You can't, therefore, if you understand who is the enemy, you can't have the luxury of disunity, fighting among ourselves. You then don't understand the enemy if you do so. You don't understand the enemy. Because if you do that, if you fight among yourselves, you are weakening yourselves. And the enemy gets an upper hand. And you are going to have difficulties for a long, long time to come. It's absolutely important for the alliance to understand that. I'm saying this because we could not have come into alliance if we did not understand that. We could not have worked with the party if we did not understand that. Or the party could not have worked with us. Or the federation could not have worked with us. All of us ought to understand this. You can't have a luxury of disunity. By so doing, you defeat yourself before you're defeated by your opponents. Cosatu is a progressive and revolutionary trade union and trade union federation fighting for and defending the rights of workers and aiming to protect workers from the super exploitation by the capitalist class. It continues to fight for the rights of the workers, probably almost in the same position as the ANC. It is situated within the system, the capitalist system. So its job is to fight for the workers all the time. The workers are important for Cosatu. But how far do you go with the workers? Now I'm talking as partly a trade unionist. You can't discriminate among the workers. Can't. For an example, you can't say the worker who is employed is more important than the worker who is unemployed. Because we are talking about the working class. We are not talking about the working class. It is therefore very important because there are workers who are working, who are in bad conditions, etc., etc. But there are workers who are not employed, who are even in a worse position. What is our view on the unemployed? The workers, part of the working class. Can we put them aside and say these ones are not working, they are not important? What about the working class? The totality of the working class. I think the task of the unions is even more complex today because mechanization, computerization, IT has complicated the position of the poorest of the workers, the unskilled, or tatalapa begalap. They're in a worse position. Today, they no longer go to factories and stand at the gate and say, I'm looking for a job. They must read a newspaper and see the advertisement. If I can't read, how do I look for a job? So you have a mass of workers who are in fact in the unemployed, unemployable in the definition of today. What do we say to those poor workers? I haven't listened to resolutions that the unions take about those ones. We have tended to concentrate to the working class, even to protect them against those who are not working. And if I had time, I'll debate the issue as a worker. But all I'm saying is that we are doing all of that because we are situated within the capitalist class. And that was the reason why there was a birth of a communist party or Marxist parties who said we can't keep the workers in this position forever. They need to be liberated. They need to turn around things and become the ones who are dictators to finish the class division in society. So that whether we are working or not working, if we are a worker, you have same equal rights like any citizen in the globe. And the wealth of the world looks after its people rather than few individuals. That's what made the communists to say, we are therefore the vanguard of the workers. because the workers are wearing nice red things. No. It is the history, the scientific history that positioned them at that point. And that's why the relations, therefore, between the party in particular and the revolutionary and progressive unions ought to be perfect. And if we appreciate that, I'm telling you, we will move faster to a final destination. All of this, I'm saying, comrades, it needs a conscious working class. It does not mean because you are a worker, by virtue of being a worker, then you are revolutionary. Not at all. You need conscientization so that you work for your success. And if you are not very conscious, you are going to have it very difficult to organize workers, because it doesn't tell you what you are doing. I'm sure many of you have started unions from nothing and organized very powerful unions. Those who have done so, they will know what work you take. And I'm saying this because, to me, organizing the workers is more important than anything, than debating differences in politics. Organizing workers and uniting them is absolutely critical. Even if you differ, that's one thing. If you believe in the union, you understand what the unions face, you can't wish them, when they are united, to divide them. In my view, there is something wrong with you as a unionist. The unions must be united. You can differ because others will be workerist. But no, thina singeni politics change kwi-factory floor only. Bayeke labo. Find time to conscientize them that at the end, we've got to find a way to change the system for the better. And that workers, if they are strong and united, they can face and deal with the system. It's important for us to understand this, because it's going to help us not to do politics instead of doing union work. Separate that, and you can do both, but know where you do politics and where you do union work. Can't bundle it together. It's very important. And you should know who are your real friends and comrades. Comrades, there is another formation. Lastly, SANCO is a civic movement and a critical component of civil society which mobilizes and organizes communities behind their bread and butter issues. It's absolutely important for SANCO to understand this. Comrades, we ought to pay sufficient attention to this question of the separate complementary roles each alliance partner must play in accelerating the pace towards the creation of a society truly based on the Freedom Charter. That's what we do. If our friends tell us that they are still going forward, well, they're our friends. We'll be very keen to visit them where they will be. Maybe we'll arrive there and stay. if it is what they describe. For an example, Cosatu is not and has never been a political party. It is a trade union federation that has got a clear responsibility to advance workers' interests and defend their rights. This does not mean Cosatu must not pursue a narrow. This means that Cosatu must not pursue a narrow workerist agenda that is totally devoid of any appreciation of the broader political context and economic systems. And that's what differentiates Cosatu from other federations, because it does have political understanding of the social situation. But how do you pursue that? Do you pursue it by almost believing that Cosatu is a political party? No. You know exactly what to do. In the olden days, we said to the workers, you are here at the factory floor. Go home, deal with the social situation, join the political party. And it was clear, you'll differentiate these two and make a good contribution. Because if we sort of make these overlap, you mislead people. You start talking about the Socialist Party, etc., whilst you are a trade union, in a different way. And udukisa abasebenzi, baduka abasebenzi baphele nya, bayovuka kwenye political party abangayaziyo. But workers at this point in history, especially given the economic climate, and globally, where inclusive economic growth and new jobs remain elusive, while existing jobs are threatened in some sectors. Workers clearly need a strong, united, and focused Cosatu. And Cosatu is the real home of the workers. It is in this context that we must emphasize that Cosatu must rise above the challenges it is confronted with today and remain strong and united in the interest of the thousands of workers who see in it as the indispensable defender of their hard-won rights and conditions. We call on all affiliate unions of Cosatu to do everything possible to build and defend the unity of Cosatu and make it the fighting force it has been since its establishment in 1985. This Congress must ensure that Cosatu emerges from this Congress more united and stronger than ever before. Comrades, a bit about balance of forces. Last week we met as former liberation movements of Southern Africa in Maputo, Mozambique. We reflected on serious challenges facing the former liberation movements in the continent. The summit reminded us that unity is paramount, given the balance of forces that are stacked against the liberation movement in the continent. The progressive forces in SADC resolved to work closely together and to also promote unity within the various movements in the continent so that the forces that seek to divide are unable to achieve that objective. This means that petty squabbles within the mass democratic movement must not be entertained. Political maturity is critical. Within our own country, we have a mission, and that is to achieve full economic emancipation, building on the political freedom we gained in 1994. Comrades, there are three key things that I think all of us should remember. Three things that make a country strong, a state strong. One, it is the political power. And you must understand the political power, how to use it. Because if you don't, you could surrender it to other people, and they will use the political power you have against you. Second one is economic power. That is a serious one. Because economic power is part of what you need to have. What we still not have in this country is that the majority of the people don't have the economic power in their hands. And that's why we have problems. And finally, it is the security power. Those three makes what a state is, are the three pillars. We need to debate the economic power. What do we mean by this? And how do we achieve it? That's a job that the Alliance must discuss very seriously. And we must not move away and shy away from discussing those issues. We have to achieve a truly non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous South Africa. We must promote inclusive growth and create decent work for our people through the manner in which we manage the economy. And I know that this is an ongoing debate from the economists and those who are not economists. Because it is easy to discuss economy. Because basically they talk about assumptions. If you say to them, but this is what you said, they say, it was just an assumption. Comrades, we do not want to be diverted from these goals and should not be diverted from our goals, from our unity, from our working together. Let us not allow those who don't like us to divide us and to divert us. Please. We will be together for a long time to come because the struggle continues. As long as there are poor people, there are unemployed citizens, our struggle continues. As long as there are bad conditions at work, our struggle continues. It is us, and only us, as an entity of an alliance, that can lead South Africa to prosperity. No other force, political force in this country, can do it except us. But if one of us is limping, it cannot be good. It must be the consent of all of us. And therefore, Cosatu must rise. And even if, as a federation, we have lost some of the unions, work hard to organize more and to conscientize those who left correctly. It's a job you must do as an organizer, as an organizing federation. Unity is the key. One of the old men we know most used to say, this national liberation movement that you are in partnership within the alliance was founded on unity, which was the rock. Don't undermine unity. Don't fight with your comrade. There is a bigger fight to fight with the enemy. Don't waste your energy. Comrades, I wish you all the best and the successful Congress. It is our wish, it is the wish of the African National Congress that this Congress must put behind the problems that have affected Cosatu. It must emerge as a united, strong federation that we know. We are there next to you. We'll support you in every corner, in every step. Mansa! Awethu! Oh, in there, lendlela esihambayo. 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 Washumandela, hubalandeli bakhe, wati sostana ngefri. Washumandela, hubalandeli bakhe, wati sostana ngefri. Oh, hinde, lendela esihambayo. Oh, hinde, lendela esihambayo. Oh, hinde, lendela esihambayo. Oh, hinde.
Well, the ANC president's speech to this Congress by its ally, the Congress of South African Trade Unions. President Jacob Zuma, of course, spending a lot of time, considerable amount of time, talking about the differences between the four to be exact. He included Sanko, what the differences are between them, where what is the role of one component as opposed to the role of another. I'm sure lots of discussion points from those who were listening. Well, that's where we are going to leave it, this particular part of the program. Of course, after when the ANC president leaves, Cosatu will be looking at the political report. That political report to be given by the acting General Secretary of the Federation, Begin Jalinjali, which of course will also be debated by the delegates attending the Congress. For now, it's back to the studio in Auckland Park in Johannesburg.
What you saw there was live pictures from the 12th Cosatu Congress, coming to us live from Gallagher Estate in Midrand. You saw President Jacob Zuma